Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. This morning I went to go and see Norm of the North. This is an animated film that's been critically panned by both internet reviewers and professional critics. A lot of people really hated this movie. What's it about? Well, it focuses on a polar bear called Norm, who's the Prince of the Arctic. And to prove himself as a king, he travels to New York to convince humans not to build model homes in the Arctic. Based on the reactions to this movie, I was expecting a spectacular disaster. And don't get me wrong, this movie is bad, but it's not exactly one of the worst animated films ever. I've seen a lot worse. Really, you could just put this movie into a pile of average animated films, mediocre, crappy animated films, and it wouldn't stand out. You wouldn't be like, oh, not Norm of the North. You just skip past it, go, oh, Norm of the North, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's that bland. Don't get me wrong, this movie is bad. Very bad. For example, the animated characters look like they were modelled and rendered by a drunk person. Plus, the sound is awful. A lot of the sound effects sound like they were recorded on a potato. And some of the sound mixing is terrible. Like, there's a scene where there's a conversation between two characters and they're walking alongside each other. One person sounds readable, you can hear what they're saying, they sound perfectly fine. While the other person, they sound like they're talking from over here, like this kind of volume, this kind of distance. It's really awkward. I don't get how someone would have not noticed that during post-production. So yeah, this movie is bad, but there's nothing exactly noteworthy about it. Nothing about it stands out. It's just your typical crappy animated film for kids. And that's kind of annoying. That's worse than being something really bad, because it just seems boring. It's just plain. It's just vanilla. It's a cookie-cutter production. It's like the filmmakers had a checklist for all the cliches and tropes for animated films for kids and wanted to go through them all. Like, tick, 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 done! Right, throw it into production. So let's go through the checklist of this movie. First of all, it has to be a talking animated animal movie with loads of forced comedy. The comedy has to try really hard to make the audience laugh, no matter how desperate it seems. Check. Next, we need to have a love interest, because all films like this have one. It doesn't matter if she has any kind of character or development, she just has to have two scenes and start a family with the lead character randomly end of the film. Check. Next on the list is a preachy, heavy-handed message about the environment. Oh yes, check. Yeah, this is the way for filmmakers to seem like they're sincere, but really they don't give a fuck. They just want to make money through a shitty movie. The film does briefly look at the consequences of trying to take down a business to save the environment, but we don't want to focus on that, okay? No, that shouldn't be the focus. No, that's an interesting, unique idea, so put it out the bag. We'll just mention it once or twice to seem like we're clever when really we're not. Yeah. Next is a generic bad guy who just wants money and doesn't care about the environment. Check. Yep. He's there, and he constantly moves about because clearly the filmmakers think that children get bored like that. Even though animation requires pauses to create the essence of life, to create organic movement. Ah, yes, the knockoff Minions formula. This film has a bunch of lemmings who serve as comic relief, and they're pretty much very annoying. All they do is fart, piss, and that's about it. They do have a running joke in the film where they pop back up whenever they're squashed, which completely ignores the whole idea of slapstick violence. You see, when you watch someone get hurt in a comedy, it's funny because we can relate to their pain. But when these characters aren't feeling pain, it's not funny. What are we meant to be laughing at? And finally, if the film runs out of ideas, it can just make the characters do silly dances. Yeah, let's be lazy. fuck this movie, seriously. It's pretty much a showcase for what's so terrible about most animated films being produced by Hollywood nowadays. They're afraid of risk, they're afraid of taking chances, so they just see what's popular, see what's successful, and follow those formulas. This is the problem. This movie is so formulaic, so predictable, so bland, so generic, so plastic, that it's pretty much a showcase for what's going wrong for Hollywood feature animation. Hollywood is afraid of taking risks. They're afraid of trying something new. And here's the thing, if you don't try something new, if you don't make a risk, then you don't know if it's going to be a success. And if you just keep making the same kind of movie, people are going to notice. These films are just going to become dusty, forgotten things in the backlog. We need more effort in Hollywood. We need more effort. When it comes down to it, Norm of the North is a typical bad movie, but it's evidence for the state that the animation industry is in right now in Hollywood. It needs to really branch out and try new things and realise that there's a wider demographic there, that people are starving for new interesting things. We're becoming way more sophisticated. We're desiring better animated films. And I think everyone deserves that. Cheerio, folks.